going to start by velveting the chicken. So we've got one chicken breast here. Now to this, I'm going to add some bicarbonate of soda. Now hopefully the bicarbonate of soda is going to help break down some of these muscle fibres, allowing some of this moisture to be absorbed by the meat itself, okay? Now the chicken breast, when you're cutting any sort of meat, what we're trying to do is cut against the grain. So imagine if we had a piece of fillet beef or a piece of beef. Now the strands of the muscle grain might go this way, so we need to make sure that we cut against that grain to ensure that we get tender pieces. What that does, it obviously shortens the muscle fibre. Then obviously we're going to velvet the meat as well, which is going to tenderise it. So when we eat it, it should literally melt in the mouth. So one chicken breast, I'm going to add roughly that much, which is about 1/6 of a teaspoon. Okay guys, so on that goes onto the chicken. I can pop the lid on that one. We're now going to add, actually I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. So this is just normal table salt, guys. If you've got some nice granular salt, you can use that, but make sure you break it down in a second. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of salt. I'm not going to use all of that. And then I'm going to add some rice wine. Now at this point, we could start massaging with our hands and we could introduce some water. If you didn't want to use the rice wine, and especially for you guys that might be celiac, rice wine does actually, I think it's been filtered through wheat or something, so you might not be able to have it. If you wanted to use an alternative to rice wine, we could look at a red wine or a dry sherry. So I'm going to put in roughly a tablespoon of rice wine. So for a second then I thought this was the sesame oil, but it's not, it's the rice wine. So now I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I've got a puddle of rice wine now. So what I've got to do, I've got to get my hand in and I've got to massage this bicarbonate of soda, salt and rice wine or water or dry sherry into the meat. And I don't want to really stop massaging until that chicken has absorbed all of that liquid. All that liquid's gone. Now at this point, I'm going to add a little bit of corn flour. Now corn flour again is just going to help with those muscle fibres. Also as well, it's going to coat the chicken. So when we pan fry it in a second or later on, because we're going to give this at least 20 minutes, half an hour to marinate. When we pan fry it, we're actually going to get a little bit more mass and volume onto the chicken. So you think one chicken breast doesn't sound like a lot, and if we put one chicken breast on our plate and we're thinking that's enough for one person, when realistically this could be enough now for 2, maybe 3 people. So we're going to put in a heaped teaspoon of corn flour. You could use potato starch, you could even use arrowroot. Like that. And in goes my hand again. And I'm just trying to coat each piece of that chicken with the corn flour. Now that that chicken has taken in that bicarb, the salt, the corn flour and the rice wine, I can now add my oil. What I don't want to do is add my oil too early, because what it does, it creates a barrier. And if I create a barrier too early, the chicken won't be able to take in all of that flavour. So the oil goes in last. And I'm going to put in about ½ a tablespoon of oil. And I'm just going to massage that again, gently this time, into the chicken. Now I've created that barrier. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to lock in all of that flavour into the chicken now with the oil. My noodles. So this was a nest of dry egg noodles. All I've done with this, guys, because they need to dry out a little bit, is I popped it into boiling water for about a minute, not much longer than a minute, strained it through the strainer and then rinsed it under cold water. I can add my oil now. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to fry my chicken and then I'm going to take it out, okay? Because I want to make sure this is cooked, but then also as well I want to stir fry the veggies. So I'm going to cook my chicken first of all. So that's near enough cooked. That goes into there. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more oil. You know, again, this is your discretion, guys, okay? So exactly the same thing as we did before. In go my onions first. And once my onions have gone in, I'm going to add in my minced garlic. In go my spring onions, which is that other aroma, that's where I was getting to. So this Cantonese cuisine, so we've got garlic, ginger and spring onion, which are your three main aromats for Cantonese cuisine. So spring onion went in go my carrots, in goes my chicken again. Now I can introduce my noodles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my noodle nest and I'm just going to very carefully, because I don't want to break the strands, remember this is supposed to be long life noodles, so I don't want to break the strands up. So what I'm going to try and do now, like a pancake, I'm just going to flip it. And I'm just going to get those noodles incorporated into those veggies and the chicken. Now I'm going to add my dries first, so the only dry that I've got is a bit of sugar, so in that goes. I'm then going to add my oyster sauce. Oyster sauce is the main flavouring of this, okay? Oyster sauce has got that umami that we were talking about, also as well. This makes everything taste good. So if you're cooking veggies and you're not vegetarian, and you're thinking, well, how am I going to make these veggies taste nice? Put oyster sauce in there, and it will make them taste amazing. Okay, oyster sauce. I'm going to add, there's about 2-ish tablespoons gone in there, along with light soy sauce, which is about just under a tablespoon, a little tiny bit of colour, so about maybe not quite a teaspoon, and then lastly, before everything else goes in, I'm going to add my rice wine. So that's just going to give it that funky rice wine taste again. Okay, in goes my Napa cabbage. I am going to just want to try a bit of this chicken. This chicken looks amazing. It's so tender, guys. You've got to give this velvety method a go. It's amazing. And then we flourish this with a little bit of spring onion. Velvet chicken, guys, with long life noodles.